Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening to everyone who are watching us tonight. With us tonight, we have Sister Aliza, a public figure, a media practitioner, and a dakwah activist. Alright, so Sister Aliza, how are you tonight?
Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. And assalamualaikum to everyone as well. Okay, talking about social media, as you a public figure, I've been known that you're a public figure, you do a lot of videos, you write pieces of here and there. In your opinion, when we see in around Malaysia, especially now, about all of the population in Malaysia, we have about 20 million of them are internet users, an active one to be exact. And out of that, about 80 million are a social media user. So for you, Sister Aliza, the one who has been very active and very passionate about social media, especially delivering good message, delivering good values, what do you think that when we're using social media, especially in Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp group as well, people have been very attached to the gadget. Everywhere we go, we see everyone looking at their phone, walking around like a zombie. Even in the train, we used to have a good discussion, a good conversation with someone, a strangers in the lift, in the public transport. But now, everyone just with their phone. Everyone is so attached to the gadget. Using social media and electronic gadget is no longer a trend. We would say that if you not exist in the internet, you not exist at all. That's the most popular quote now. So in your opinion, is it still an option to use social media in our daily life?
It's very interesting that you're asking this question to someone who is on YouTube. You know, so of course I'm always on my phone, almost always doing my work, posting things, filming things, you know, answering questions and things like that. However, to address your question first directly, I think there is an option actually. Okay. You don't have to be on your phone. It's like you don't have to be. There's always a choice. There's still a newspaper out there. You know, there's still people who can speak and verbalize with you out there. Yeah. You know, so there's always an option. But is it the most wise option right now is the question. You know, because of course the world is very connected. If you're not connected, you're not on the internet, you're not on these social media sites, you're not going to die, but you're going to be uninformed. You know, all of this information is racing around the world, you know. The information is at our fingertips, of course. Good information, also bad information, but at least it's information. We are kept abreast of whatever is going on in the world. So in terms of services as well, you know, we have now Uber and Grab and all these companies. So if you want to go for transport, it's no longer, you know, calling up whatever taxi company it is and then waiting and then waiting and then calling them again and then waiting and wondering where they are. But you can actually track them through, you know, the phone. You know, other things like booking hotels, booking anything actually. I was actually staying in a hotel where you can actually, they had some kind of in-room service where you can actually just text room service and text the front desk. So all of these services are at your fingertips now. It just makes life a lot easier, especially coming from kind of like the very beginning of the millennials. I do have this kind of this kind of attitude where if I can do it through my thumbs, I want to do it through my thumbs. I don't actually have to talk to someone unless I absolutely have to, because there is this kind of sense of self as well now with, you know, I have a YouTube channel. I do, but it's not exactly active right now. I do it for other people. But, you know, people say, I have a YouTube channel, I'm in my own world, you know, I want to express myself. And no, you know, at no point in time has it been easier to express yourself to the whole entire world. You know, it's kind of, yes, it's become a narcissistic kind of thing, but there's also a lot of good that comes out of it. You know, people who are introverted can actually express themselves. People who have special abilities who would never have an opportunity elsewhere can express themselves. So there's a whole lot of good things going on, but of course a lot of other things going in the background as well. So again, your question, is it an option? Yes, there's always an option. If you don't want to turn off your phone, you don't have to. But is it the wise decision to turn off your phone completely is the thing. I think if you're with, you know, you're having dinner with your family, yes. Other times, I'll be on my phone.
That's a good choice when you mention that when you're with dinner, you're with them, but you're not. Sometimes people, when we're having dinner in the restaurant, we are there, but we are not there. People, they choose to disconnect with their families and connect to the people far, far away from them on the phone. Whereas the family, the loved one, the spouse in front of you waiting to interact with you.
True.
Or maybe not waiting because they're on their phone as well. Alright. Well, when we're talking about social media and about everything that can be found in internet, I find it interesting because nowadays we have a term called Google. It's no longer a noun, it become a verb. Let's say I want to ask you, what is nasi lemak? Oh, you can Google it. Right. Google has become a verb. It's become a word that to describe an action. So it's interesting because when we say in Google right now, everything can be found there. I mean, literally everything. If you want to search for how to do nasi lemak with not the usual recipe, you will find one. Of course you will. And talking about the advancement of technology, advancement of information, there will be a lot of information. And this is where it gets worse. Because there's a lot of information. We don't know which one is the truth, which one is the incorrect one, which one is the rumor, which one is the absolute truth. So it's quite interesting because the thing that's supposed to help us to understand more, to find more information, has now become a weapon that can get back to us, become a rumor, become something misinterpreted. So in your opinion, how well do you think the platform nowadays, and I'm not just saying Google, I'm just saying everything that have information in it, what your opinion is, the platform is being optimized well by our generation today? Or is it just gonna be another thing to spread the hatred, spread the racial bias or anything?
I think it's in progress. As people understand more the benefits of such platforms, they do find more creative ways of using it for good. So yes, there are going to be people who are just interested in, vanity reasons, or, they have fun spreading things that are not true. There's always going to be people like that. But I think that people do now use it for good education. They do use it for inspiring others. Even classrooms use it. So for example, about 2 or 3 years ago, I had made this social media campaign. It was called Project I Am Muslim. So in this campaign, I just wanted all my Muslim brothers and sisters, wherever they might be, to come out and write something about themselves, to show people in media who are looking at Instagram and Twitter and whatnot, and show that this is us. We're just, we're Muslim, we're just people. We like to go out and walk in the park. We have children who we're taking care of. We like to go to, Bali just like everyone else. So things that are normal. I am Muslim and I like to read. Just normal things, just to show that we're not some kind of alien. Okay, so this was something that was actually, I just put it out there with some friends of mine because I had just become a Muslim and I was feeling this tension of, how come we're not like out there like showing ourselves and be like, hi, I'm a Muslim. So and so I thought, okay, this is a nice project to do. So I put it out there. Alhamdulillah, within the first day or two, maybe 48 hours, I had 100,000 people who were participating from around the world, actually, mostly in Malaysia, of course, because I was here, but around the world. And I found out that schools, school children, were picking it up and they were making it into projects in their school as well. And even college students. So, their teachers picked up on the project and, they decided that this would be something that would be really good for their students to be exposed to. So I was getting tags on Instagram with all these pupils, coming out with different things that were beautiful and creative. So there's a lot of potential. Even when I was in college, we had ways of streaming materials into the classroom. Like even when the professor wasn't there, he would be like, come and watch this because I'm going to have something for you. So of course there are going to be ways of making it better and better as we understand how far these kind of technologies and platforms can go. But is it optimized right now? No. And do I think it's ever going to be optimized? Probably not. Why? Because technology is always evolving. but we will learn to use it better and better, and the rules and regulations of how to decipher what's good and what's bad, we're going to get better at it.
So I guess the issue is not about the platform itself, but the person behind the platform.
Exactly. It's never the platform. It's
just a tool.
Technology.
Yeah.
It's neutral. It's just the person and how they use it,
If
how
you use it
creative
badly,
they can be about it.
So I have a very interesting question, not really a question, about information from my friend. A very popular word that he said to me is, Aiman, people can share anything on Facebook or in social media. Even if you had a mindset want to share some knowledge, even your cat has died, you'll write beautifully about it. You talk about life and death. That is not the ending of our life and everything. But if you just addicted to the likes, to the shares, if you're the kind that asking for likes, asking for shares, you just simply wrote, post a selfie between you and your kitten. Oh, my cat has died today. That's all. But if you're really eager to share a knowledge, a very beneficial knowledge to be exact, you will say life is about death. That is not the ending for us. It's a thing that makes us more alive about in the future. So the question is not about the platform, it's about the person behind the platform.
Right. Yes.
The eyes behind the screen. And very interesting thing when you mentioned about before, it's about misinformation nowadays. I would say 3 examples. Let's say Save Twitter. It has been very hectic in Twitter Jaya, we call it in Malaysia, Twitter Jaya or Facebook land. The story of how Twitter gonna come to an end. People thought Twitter literally gonna close down and everything will be vanished in Twitter. They even make a interesting interpretation of Twitter posting pancake pictures. They say, hope everyone love pancakes. Then some misguided trolls put, Twitter is posting a help message, hope everyone love pancake, HELP. So then some people looks Twitter sending a hidden message saying that they need help. It's just a pancake. And even the second issue is about the Christmas in Sweden, where there's been ban about Christmas celebration there about 2016, if I'm not mistaken. The story of how people thought that in Sweden the Christmas has been banned because of the Muslim in there. They don't want to anger the refugees in there, which bring a lot of racial and stereotyping comment. But the thing is, it's actually about safety features. The story of how the Christmas tree has been broken down and everything. So they banned the Christmas not because of Muslim.
The electrical poles.
The
electrical poles had been taken over by new management, and under their Swedish laws, those Christmas lights weren't allowed to be hung because it posed a safety issue.
But then people misinterpret it as, we want to take care of the Muslim. Another misguided truth. And even more related to our country in Malaysia, the story of Tafiz fire. Even the Tafiz was just burned during that night, I would say hundreds of information already sent to the WhatsApp group. Even the Tafiz was just burned. The police has not made a statement yet, but police already made a statement in their WhatsApp group. We have lawyers talking about the issue of anything about Tafiz fire. A lot of perspective. People want to be lawyer, people want to be a specialist, people want to be a commentator. But the thing is, it's all a misinterpreted truth. So in your opinion, why do you think this misinformation happened, and how will it affect the society in general?
Okay, in my opinion, right? It has to do with emotion. When something triggers emotion, people are generally going to react to it. And if it comes from someone who has some sort of credibility, or they perceive that person to have some kind of credibility, even worse. So for example, let's go back to the Swedish example of the Christmas lights. That actually came from a personal blog of one of the editors somewhere. He was an IT editor. And so being an IT editor, of course, he probably has some people that think that he's credible. But actually this guy, he kind of turned out to be some kind of cyber guy who likes to put out these provocative, sometimes not so true kind of things. So his account actually on Twitter has been taken down and everything. So, you know, it takes just like one person kind of like, you know, writing slightly the wrong thing or completely the wrong thing, and most people, let's face it, most people are not going to go check if it's true or not. If it's from someone that they kind of know, kind of recognize their name, most people are going to be like, there must be some truth to it at least. So then some truth becomes more truth, until I'm sure there's going to be people who think that it's the real truth. I was looking at statistics this morning from America, that somewhere around 23% of Americans actually share misinformation, and whether they know it or not. So that's about, you know, a quarter of the people in America. And that's an individualistic society. Now let's talk about Asia, where it's not an individualistic society. It's actually a society where people, you know, intermingle and they depend on each other. And when one person does something, another person, they actually go along together. So I would imagine that 23% would be a lot higher than in Asia, just due to kind of like general trends of how people interact in Asia. However, I have to say, let's go back to the Muslims. I hope the Muslims, and we just take the Muslims, I hope that would be much less. Why? There's evidence in our religion why we should be checking facts, right? Number one, our first command is to do what? Iqra, read. But read what? Read beneficial things. How do you know if it's beneficial? You have to check, you know, and there's such a thing as residual barakah, you know? If you lead people down the right way and they catch on and they, you know, keep on doing what you advise, you get the residual barakah. But if you mislead people, you get the residual sin as well. So I would, even though, you know, this is very, very much true that there's so much misinformation out there and hardly anyone checks, but I am hoping in my heart that if it's a Muslim, we will know better, or we'll learn. You know, because social media is still quite new. There's still a lot of ulama who are not sure about it. You know, for some of the, you know, it's divided. Some ulama, they think that it's, you know, not sure. And there's other ulama who say, look, it's just another way of communicating. You know, when the book first came about, the printing press, some of the ulama back then were against the printing press. It was bid'ah. But now they understand that a book is another way of communication. So it's the same as this. So I would hope so, that the Muslims would do better. But anyway, getting back to the question, yes, misinformation is a huge problem. You know, there's no real way, especially on digital platforms, to check 100% unless, you know, you go to those you know, websites and accounts that really, you know, check for you. You know, but there are ways to prevent yourself from falling into this, and also as someone who creates content, there's also responsibility on yourself to do that as well. And I think you're gonna ask me that later, so we'll keep it for the later.
I'm interested when you mention that when there's an issue in our country, on our nation, or even in our society, we tend to react to the issue. People, everyone to be a specialist, everyone to comment something, or at least refer to someone's comment, consider it's some another kind of truth. But interestingly is, I heard a story before when how cockroaches. Do you know the cockroach theory?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a theory from one of the Google, I think Google bot advisor, some guy.
Okay.
I read about the article. He mentioned that a cockroach in a restaurant, a cockroach fly into the restaurant, and one of the ladies was eating there. She was screaming and was running around because the cockroach on her body. But then the cockroach fly around, go to another person's body, and the person did the same. And suddenly the waiter came, without any screaming or anything.
Okay.
Just rationally take the cockroach away and throw out the window.
Okay.
It's the differences between reaction and response. What the lady is doing is react to the situation, like you said, with emotion. But the waiter did is response with rational. It's it's no longer with emotion. Yes, you have emotion because you are human, but not the unnecessary emotion. Based your own belief system, you think what is good and what is not good. So you respond according to the situation. So it's the same thing with the issue nowadays. To me personally, I am very active in Facebook as well. Very active, like 3 to 4 posts a day minimum. So I wrote a lot.
More than me.
But I don't do video a lot. I'm more to writing. And one of my principles is I never comment anything about the current issue. We have a theory of 100 days theory. It said that if anything viral of an issue in Malaysia, it will not stay for 100 days. My lecturer used to say that. Let's say it used to be very viral about certain issue. Just wait until 100 days. The issue will be gone completely. No follow-up, no nothing. So that's what I think, for my own personal opinion, that I won't share anything or I won't comment anything about the current issue. Rather, I will focus more on spreading information that I know best, which is on my Facebook. I talk about autism, about special children.
Sure.
Yeah, because information never expire. Issue, yes, it will expire.
I want to add also this word media. I actually stopped reading most newspapers when I was a teenager. Because, and this is just my personal opinion, please don't close down the production team, nothing. This is just my personal opinion, that I find it hard to trust mainstream media. That's just my personal opinion. Okay? So if I find it, and I'm sure there's other people who are similar to me, if there's one, there's many others, who find it sometimes hard to trust mainstream media. Is it still important? Yes, it is. There's still a function, they still do a great job. But sometimes it's difficult to see, you know? So I actually prefer methods like finding those people on Facebook who are in the situation and writing about their experience. That seems more credible and more fresh and more true to me. However, at the same time, even though many of us don't necessarily trust mainstream media now, when we go to social media, like you said much earlier, people can write whatever they want. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, it's their own personal opinion. So we have to be careful. You know, and you had also mentioned, we're going to get back to this, answer the second part now. You know, how does this affect, you know, society at large? Look, I was reading something about how a wrong tweet can just, you know, send a stock market going down, you know, going down the tubes. There was I think it was a tweet from the U.S. Embassy in Russia or something like that, or one of the European countries, and they had mistakenly retweeted something from one of their morning shows that was criticizing that country, and so the stock market actually went down, and diplomacy was, you know, kind of affected, you know. So it's not like these social media platforms are just for fun and games, it's just for people to voice opinions. No, governments also respond to them. You know, respond, react, whichever one you want to take, you know. But so it really does take effect. And even within families, you post the wrong picture with the wrong person, someone in your family might get upset, you know. So it really does have these kind of detrimental, it can have detrimental effects. And once it's on the internet, it's very hard to take it off.
Yeah.
Very hard to take it off unless you have Snapchat. It only stays for 24 hours, right?
Yeah, you can still screenshot.
Yes, but everything else, let's face it, even if it's mainstream media, you see it in the news, you see it in the newspaper, it goes away after some time. If it goes on the internet, it's basically there forever. You know, there's no end to the database of internet.
Whatever happened on
internet,
stays on
it's
internet.
like there. Unless, you know, you pay somebody some big bucks to go and like change everything. Yeah. So it can really be altering not only to your life, your community, but even within governments, you know. So it's a big issue. And I know that Facebook is starting to do something now about, you know, the whole cyber bullying and, you know, like keywords and all these things, but we don't know which other platforms. I think Twitter was also looking into it, but it's very hard. How do you safeguard someone's right to free speech, but also track bullying? How do you track the billions of people on this earth and be like, this is a bully, this is a bully. It's like Matrix,
you have some algorithm for that.
Yeah, you have to have maybe keywords or
it's quite hard actually.
Something, so but yeah, it's difficult. So we as the people who hopefully are becoming a little bit more knowledgeable. I always say this. I have this thing where I kind of like encourage people to have when I have live talks. I tell them there's a power in one. There's a power in one person deciding that I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to do good, I'm going to be a good Muslim, whatever it is. One person to decide. That's all it takes to make a revolution. Why? One person decides, then one more person decides, and another person decides, and all these people decide, that becomes a revolution. So as long as you take care of yourself, and you try to advise your friends as well, we can do this. We can get through this age, this bell curve, Like I said, we're on our way. Is it optimized? It's never going to be optimized. Things are always changing, but we'll make it. Inshallah.
It's quite hard, but it's hard people to do this. How to find the truth, how to avoid ourselves misinterpret the information. How can we, as a layman, if you consider you as a layman,
yes, of course,
in your own experience, how can a layman can start this initiative to spread the truth, or at least to hold out our tongue from commenting something before there was official announcement about it?
Okay, let's start with the consumer first.
Okay.
So people who are the viewers, people who are the followers, the consumers. For the consumer, what I believe is that when you see something shocking, or you see some news that and you have some questions about it, don't talk about it first. Look, we're in an age where people are modern, people are becoming more educated, more literate. It's no longer that, you can't read the newspaper, you don't know anything. You can listen to videos, all these things are coming to you. However, as we become more educated, we also have to become less ignorant. Ignorant in the way that we're led on like sheep. Okay? This has been the tactics of many leaders, of many influencers in the wrong way over the centuries. So we are no longer sheep. Don't just simply follow every news. Wait until a credible source that you trust comes out and makes a statement about it. Okay? So for example, with the Tafiz school, like I said, I don't read newspapers, so everything comes to me through WhatsApp and Facebook. So I was, and also my friends. So I was sitting there, Tafiz school burns. I wonder what happened. And then this story came, and then this story came, and then the same story came, but a little bit more detail. And then this came, and then I find out the police haven't said anything yet. So, you have to yourself know at that time that people just want to talk about it. This is human nature. People want to talk about things, when it's interesting, when it's shocking, when it's so sad, when it's so happy, anything that affects your heart or your emotion, people want to talk about it. And they want to conspire about it. They want to make theories. This is what people like to do. So you yourself have to know that, these are interesting stories. They all could be true. They all could be fake. So let's wait and see what the story is. And even so, you see it so many times. The police comes out, they make the statement, and then like 2 months later, more evidence came out and it's actually like this. So how can you really trust everything that comes to you, So especially, I have to mention this, especially as Muslims, we have to be very careful of fitna. Fitna is something that is very dangerous in our religion, but even more so, which is dangerous, is the whole backbiting, gossiping, and slandering. And you could be doing without even knowing it. You saying something that someone said to you, that someone said to them, that someone said to them, that you don't really know that is true, but you're spreading it because you think, it's really interesting, I think this is the right one, but it's not really. Those residual sins are coming to you, and plus you've committed a major sin. So, and there's so many different things that we don't even think and we don't even realize is a sin. So we really have to hold your tongue. I think there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says that, the things that you have to really, this is just in meaning, so the things that you really have to be careful is about your tongue. One of the muscle that is you have to control the most is your tongue. So, but of course now it's also your thumbs. Your thumbs also count as mouth now, your tongue now. So you know, you have to be very, very careful. And look, okay, I'm just gonna say this about myself. I don't like to be wrong. I think a lot of people don't like to be wrong. When I'm wrong, I feel really bad. And you know, it's like, oh man, and it's usually about something just dumb. It's like, I could have just not talked about it. I could have just checked. It would have been very easy to just, there's a phone number here. Why didn't I just call? Hello, is this person really there? You know, I see these like, again, during the fire, there was this, I was in BM, so I couldn't read it, but I knew what it was. They were asking for donations for the school. And it turned out to be a hoax after. So there are people who are waiting to prey on people's emotions and pity to gain, you know, for their own gains.
Wow.
So you know, so it's like, you know, if people just check. Even quotes I check. And this is just because I'm also a content creator. You are too. So you know, maybe I'm trained to check a little bit more. Like even when I get you know, Islamic reminders with hadith, I'll go and I'll check the hadith on the trusted website that I go to. And there have been many times when the hadith number has been wrong. So even you get the reference, unless it's like a researching you know, account, you know that it's an account that is connected to a Islamic academic institute or something that you really trust, there's still plenty of people who misquote. You know, they write from memory and they may or may not remember, and not everyone is, I kind of remember. Like I usually write, I kind of remember, you should check for yourself because I don't have time right now. So I'm one of those people who will write it, but do most people write? I don't think so. They will just write from memory and there you go. You know, so, and that's just the Islamic stuff. Now what about the whole world of other stuff? You know, so as a consumer, you have to think first. Think. You know, especially when people are so heated in emotion. When has emotion ever come out in rationality? Never. When you're having a heated emotional, you know, discussion with whoever it might be, plenty of words come out that you don't mean. Plenty of words that come out that would not have come out if you were calm. You know, so we have to be responsible for ourselves. Now, as I mentioned, as a content creator as well, content creators have to be even more so responsible, because whatever you put out there as a content creator, there will be someone who believes you. You know, of course there are those people who are malicious and they want to mislead people. Okay, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the people who actually want to do some good. Okay, now you have to take it upon yourself that you know that, okay, I'm going to use an Islamic word, it's called amana. This is your amana. They're your followers. You have to take it as amana. Amana basically means you're responsible for these people. You know, God will ask you about these people at some point. So if you do something that is, you know, misleading these people, that's on you. But in general, also content creators, it's like the old school journalists, you know, those awesome old school journalists that tell the truth and die for the truth no matter what. You know, those old school, it's kind of like that. We're always on this battle on social media as well to like kind of get through all the kind of fluff, you know, all this stuff that is very nice to look at, and I look at too, but we're also trying to deliver a message, right? So we have to check ourselves whether, first of all, is that message beneficial? Is it going to be something that inspires someone to do something good or to help them with their own journey in life? You know, that's what I believe most social media influencers want. They want to affect people's life in some way. Even, you know, if it's something as simple as someone who just does outfits of the day, they still want to influence someone to make them happy in some way through their clothing, right? So we as content creators, we have to make sure that what we are putting out is beneficial in some way. If we are putting out content that, you know, has quotes and has lessons in it, we have to make sure that we have references. You know, it can be your opinion, but you have to say that it's your opinion. If it's not your opinion, you are, you know, for example, I quote from the Quran and the Hadith a lot. You have to make sure that you write the correct source. You know, all these things are important. If you're a God-fearing person, you know that God is going to ask you about it, especially like, how come you wrote the wrong quote? It was very easy for you to just like look one more time and write the right quote. Just
Google it.
Yeah. So, and oh yes, and Google, the other thing, Google is another resource. When something comes with pictures, there's so many times when those pictures are faked or photoshopped or altered in some way. And usually those photos I read, most photos that catch people's eyes, they circulate and they get kind of changed because for some reason those are the pictures that catch the eyes. So they get reused and reused and reused. So it's very easy to just go to some of those websites that are meant to dispel hoaxes. They will actually, you can actually go and check. You know, not everyone's going to do it. For pictures, I don't do it as well. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But when it's something important, something that I find interesting, or something that I feel like I'm going to share this with my followers, even if it's 2-3 pages, I'm going to go through, do I understand everything? Are there, usually it's Islamic things, are there words that I don't know that, you know, I have to know them to be able to share? But that's just me. Not everyone is going to be as meticulous, but I hope that people are. And I'm not praising myself. Okay, I'm not praising myself. It's just, this is just my process because I'm scared of being asked by Allah. That's all. Okay. Otherwise, perhaps I would be one of the lazy ones too. But I'm just scared. That's all. So yeah. So okay. Getting back to the content creator. So of course, you as a writer, you have following. And there are topics that you enjoy, you know, sharing about. I'm sure that you do some research, even if it's an opinion, you probably base it on something, right? So we have to be very careful about that, what we're drawing from. Me, as a more of an Islamic kind of social media influencer, I really have to make sure that what I am transmitting is something I really learned. Not just something that I was thinking, oh, this is how I feel about this. No. Most of the things that I post is not from myself, is something I learned that is based from Quran and Sunnah. That is my responsibility. But if it's like some silly picture of me in a restaurant, then inshallah people have to understand that that's just me being silly in a restaurant. You know, so there are things that we mix in there, but at the same time it has to be meant on truth.
When you mention about content writers, people with influence on social media, the one who have 20,000 followers or 20,000 shares, as simple as today I'm hungry, 14,000 likes. People like that, they have the responsibility to, first is to spread the real truth, is not from the rumors, not for the misinterpret information, and second is to rebuke the misinformation. So I believe that you don't have to be a content writer, the one who has many followers. You don't have to be someone who just simply wrote, I'm hungry today, then you got 14,000 likes. You don't have to be someone like that to spread the truth. You don't have to be someone important or someone very influential in the social media to at least rebut the information. So in your opinion, other than the one that you already mentioned, what kind of person, just simply like, just imagine some teenagers still in their school, they're writing everything in their Facebook and your Instagram. People easily exchange between opinion and truth. It's easy to say I think rather to say there's a study shows that, or this guy says that's this. So how can we, as a layman term, someone with no influence at all for a person, a simple person, just simply someone on Facebook with no intention to being famous or anything, how can they also help to spread the truth and to rebuke the misinformation, in your opinion?
Very simple. Just start with your own sphere of influence, which is your family and your friends. If you see a wrong being done and you have something to say about it, you just say it to the people that you know, because guess what? They know people too. And then they talk to their friends, and they talk to their friends, and then becomes a much larger audience. Just because you don't have followers and you're not on social media doesn't mean that you can't make a difference. You know, way back when, actually not so many years ago, when there was no such thing as Twitter, people still got word around. People's mouths still work nowadays, inshallah. So, you know, you still have your sphere of influence. You know, if you know that something's wrong, just speak up. You know, kids are taught that all the time. But the thing is that as we grow up as adults, our courage decreases. When you're kids, you're like, yeah, I'm going to stand, you know, I can say anything. See, when you become an adult, all these things come, no, cannot say that. What if it's like that? And what if this person, you know, respond? You know, so all these things come in. But actually, when you're someone who sees wrong, you should speak up. You know, as long as it's safe for you, actually, no, because you never know nowadays, right? But your sphere of influence should be okay. Now, so that's for the normal person. Just start with your sphere of influence. Now, the sphere of influence for someone who has a following on social media or other platforms is a little bit different. You know, you have basically, you know, maybe, okay, let's say someone who has some influence has at least 10,000 likes or 10,000 followers. So out of those, all of those 10,000 followers, you might have like 200 that you know. Everyone else is a stranger, right? But so all this group of people are no longer really your close sphere of influence. So you don't know who is watching, you don't know who is reading, you don't know their personalities. But if you are someone in influence, you do have a responsibility too, if you are able to do it. You know, it's not like every single thing you have to have an opinion on unless that's the person that you want to be and project. You know, everyone on social media, I think, has some kind of goal. You know, some people have goals of just want to be seen. You know, other people have goals of, you know, they're someone who likes to give advice, so they just want to be doctor advice. You know, so it depends on what kind of person you are on social media as well. So if the topic is something that you can touch on, then you as a person can speak about it. But you also have to think about your words, because as someone with a following, you have to be much, much more careful. Mm-hmm. Like if I say something, for example, about the Rohingya crisis, you know, me as someone with an opinion and with certain knowledge and a certain type of following, I would use a certain way of communicating with this following. You know, which could be different than my following on Instagram, which is slightly younger, which could be a little bit different than my following on Twitter, where I only have a certain number of words, so I can't write that much or say that much, right? So you also have to know what your limitations are. But, you know, for those things that need to be rebutted, you can, of course. It just depends on your sphere of influence. There are plenty of topics that you have no right to be talking about. No, plenty of things that I'm talking about, no right to be talking about. It's for politicians, it's for police, and it's for ulama. It's for scholars to talk about. You have no right to be talking about those things. You may reference to them. I believe that this statement makes a lot of sense. And it is from this scholar, what do you think? That's what influencers on social media, I believe, should do. We should raise awareness and make people think. That's my whole deal. Make them think. They have a journey of their own. Whatever God is wanting people to do and think and do, whatever it is, that's their qadr, that's their journey. Okay, but what you should be doing is that you lead them towards what you think is good and the opinions that you think make sense. Whether they agree with you or not, you be prepared for that. But they have their right to disagree with you. You know, and that's just a parcel of life, not even just, you know, social media. There's going to be people who disagree with you. But again, if you feel strongly enough about something and it's something that's really horrible, like the Rohingya crisis, you have a right and probably responsibility just as a human being to at least say something. You know, say something. And, you know, and you would be surprised. Sometimes it just takes the most simple, heartfelt few words that becomes this viral thing overnight because other people resonate with that heartfelt, you know, few words. You know, it's almost never, don't get offended, almost never those long passages that people are like, oh, wow, it's so inspiring. I hope everyone reads it. Look, people read a third or half, most. You know, when I had an advisor for my social media stuff, and in the beginning I was writing these beautiful, eloquent things, and, you know, my opinion, and they're like, no, 3 lines. 3 lines or 4 lines. If it's class notes, maybe more. But 3 lines, 4 lines, make sure your hashtags aren't longer than your 2 lines and 3 lines. I'm like, okay. So you know, there are ways to do it. And plus, mashallah, the hashtags nowadays, right? You want something to be heard, you get the right hashtag, everyone will see it. You know, so of course everyone has a responsibility. Everyone can be influencer in their own way. So that's one of the beauties of social media. Doesn't matter if you're a nobody. You get the right hashtag, you write the right words, you will be an overnight viral person. You know, I don't know what to call them. They're viral people. Yeah.
The overnight viral.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, rebutting misinformation is important when you can. And yeah, leave the things that you don't have any knowledge on. Just don't comment. You're going to make things worse.
I think the answer is already, it's been existed for thousands of years now.
Yeah.
Which is from our salat. For Muslim prayers, we have a certain condition that we have to do tamanina. I mean, taking a pause when you're doing sujud, taking a pause when you're doing the sitting between two sujud. So tamanina is a concept where you're taking a pause. My friend used to have a say that tekan butang pause, which in Malay it means pressing the pause button in here. Whenever you want to say something, press the pause button first and ask yourself, is it true what you're gonna say, or what you're gonna write, or what you're gonna post? And ask yourself again, is it beneficial? And the third question is it nice? So I hope these three things that can help us to at least have a pause whenever we want to say something. Don't react to the cockroach, respond to the situation. So whoever you are, whatever you do, now we have a new platform to fulfill these roles, to advocate good values and to rebut the misinformation, which is Do Good Portal. This Facebook live session is in conjunction with the soft launch of the Do Good Portal. If you want to know about Do Good, let's watch this video. Welcome to Do Good, everyone. You are invited to go to Do Good website www.dogood.com.my. You have a new look and you can look around that portal to know more about us. Well, looks like our time is almost up. Do you have any last words?
I guess the last words would be probably the conclusion of what I think were the main points that people should take away from. So write this down, okay? Write this down. We cannot be sheep. Okay, this is really on the misinformation because I think that it's a really big problem nowadays. You know, social media, online platforms, WhatsApp, WeChat. We have so many platforms nowadays to communicate with each other, but we have to really, you know, be responsible consumers and also content providers. For the consumers, make sure that you're not just following a trend and that you actually know that something is truth. Because if you're sharing things with people who are in your realm of influence, you care about them, right? You want them to have good information. You don't want to mislead them. So that means you have to be responsible for yourself first. So before you react to something, make sure that there is some substance and there is truth. You know, it's very easy to hear something and get all fired up and emotional about something, you know, this is wrong, this is right, whatever it is that you react to. But it's another thing to actually step back, like you said, pause, and actually rationally think, is this true or not? You know, before I actually say something that could come back and bite me later on, should this be something that, you know, I support and share? You know, and also as content, creators, and let's face it, we are all content creators now. If you write anything and send it out through your phone, you are a content writer, okay? So whatever it is, pictures, text, whatever it is, you are creating content. So that means you have to be responsible. You have to be responsible for the people who are viewing your stuff as well. You know, make sure that you are being truthful. Make sure that what you are, you know, putting out there, you know, is beneficial in some way to people. You know. So So I used to ask, and now I get asked. One very interesting question is that, how do I make my stuff viral? How do I make people share my stuff? Okay, there's no real secret, way, but here's what I've found. If you can write something, create something, and put something out there that makes people's lives better, people who, it makes them feel good, they can apply it to their life and, become a better person, trust me, they're gonna share it. If it affects their life and makes them, a better person, more knowledgeable, whatever it might be, they're going to share it because they want other people to have that kind of peace and happiness as well. So just make sure that you're putting out good content. It will be shared. Okay?
As a conclusion to our discussion tonight, which is I really love it, I would say to all the audience, never give up in spreading the truth. Because sometimes when you first start, after this video, hopefully inshallah you will have the initiative to do something good. You'll write anything in your Facebook or in your Instagram, on your Twitter, but never give up. There will be a lot of trial and errors. You will find that maybe I'm not really good in photos, I'm good in writing. Maybe I'm not good in writing, I'm good in quotes or anything. Never give up in spreading the truth. So even for me, for my own self, I've been writing for 7 years now. And when people ask me, how do you get about 20,000 followers? It's not an overnight journey. It's something that I've been doing for 7 years. I've been writing since 2010, and now it's already 2017. One thing that I learned, never give up in spreading the truth. Whatever you want to share, just share it and never ask anything in return. So as in conclusion, that's still good.
Okay, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed that session. Don't forget to go to www.dogood.com.my to check them out, see what they are all about, support them. Don't forget to sign up and subscribe to their Facebook and also their social media. They are going to be doing some great things in the world. Be sure to become a do-good citizen.